Hey everybody, welcome back to another alternate build video. My name is Brickalier Bricks, and today I'm going to be showing you this fighter tank and dropship I made out of two of the new LEGO Star Wars fighter tank sets. As always, I do have instructions available for this alternate build. If you would like the PDF version of those instructions, you can find those on my Patreon. If you sign up at the lowest level, which is just $3, you'll have access to PDF instructions for this build and others. You'll get early access to future builds that I'm coming out with, and you'll get access to Patreon exclusive builds, such as this quad mortar platform that I just came up with. It's designed out of two of the new clone minifigure packs, and the best part is it can also be carried into battle by this dropship that I'm about to show you. All of that and more, patreon.com/brickalierbricks. Link for that is in the description. Now listen up, because there are free instructions for this build as well, and they are in the second part of this video. But first, we're going to do a bit of an overview about the build, showing all the details. I really recommend you watch that if you're wanting to make this. It's in your best interest to be fully informed and have an idea of what you're going to be making. So again, we'll do the overview first, and after that, if you would like, stick around for the free version of the instructions. So obviously this build has two components to it. There's the fighter tank itself, which is not the same as the official LEGO fighter tank you would get in this set. I made my own design for it. And then also there's the dropship carrier that carries this fighter tank into battle. Since its main purpose is carrying the tank, the dropship itself does not have much in the way of weapons other than these two cannons right at the front. Ideally, these would be ball turrets, but working with limited parts from these two sets, I was only able to make them go side to side. Behind the cannons is the cockpit area for the pilot. This whole front section is very sleek and smooth, which I do really like. I'm sure some of you have noticed this windscreen piece. It does not come with these two sets. You're going to have to buy it separately, but I really wanted to have an actual windscreen on this dropship. And this part is pretty cheap and easily available. For example, it's in the Mandalorian Starfighter set if you have that, or you can just buy it by itself on Bricklink or eBay. That opens up nicely. There's a lot of room in there for the pilot, and he's got a little control panel to fly the ship with. Moving back to the exterior of the ship, on either side of the pilot are these slope sections. The only thing I wanted to mention here are these black inverted slopes. To me, I think they look a little bit out of place. If you wanted to, you could replace these with white slopes, or you could use some of the stickers from the fighter tank sticker sheet and just cover them up. The pieces would be stuck together by the sticker, but if you're not planning to take this apart, maybe that'd be a good option. And now we've arrived at the most important part of the ship. This is the central frame that holds the fighter tank and also doubles as sort of a skeleton for the rest of the ship. There are a lot of Technic parts used in here, which gives it the strength needed to hold the weight of the fighter tank. I'm going to be talking more about the details of this system later in the video, so keep watching. Finally, at the very back of the dropship, we have the engines and the wings. Both of them are pretty simple. They do have some pieces here and there for extra details to kind of flesh them out a little bit more. And as far as the mechanical part of the wings, they just clip into the body and are also braced beneath by a modified plate. So that's the basics of the dropship itself. Now let's take a look at the fighter tank. So like I said earlier, this is not the fighter tank that you're getting in the set. I know that one question I'm going to be asked already is, can I make the fighter tank by itself from just one of the sets? And the answer is unfortunately no. If you want to make the fighter tank by itself, you still need to buy two sets because it uses parts from both of those sets. I designed it to be carried by the dropship and also be its own thing, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. All these angles and slopes at the front, they're all pretty much still there, from the two mandibles on either side that meet in the middle towards the cockpit, to the sloped sides, to the nose section. The wedges and slope parts in these sets really allowed me to capture those details. And the two Republic logo stickers fit nicely here and really tie it together. As far as weapons, there's one cannon on either side. They can move up and down, and if you're wondering, yes, they are sturdier than the cannons found on my 501st Battle Pack fighter tank. Quick note here, these small gray Technic bricks, one side of them is way stronger than the other, so if you put these cannons on and it's really loose, just flopping down like this, all you have to do is switch it around and it should be good to go. Rounding out the weapon systems, we have the turret up top controlled by the clone gunner up here. The turret has a pretty limited range of motion, and I wouldn't mess with it very much because it's a bit fragile. It's kind of just up there to be up there. It's not really supposed to be a play feature. And that kind of goes for this whole tank in general. Besides the dropping feature from the dropship, you might have a hard time, playing with it if you like to take minifigures in and out all the time. The interior can be kind of tricky to access, but I am going to show you that right now. So this does hold two minifigures on the inside plus the gunner up top. For the two inside, I recommend putting them in there while you're building it, and there is a spot in the instructions where it mentions that so you won't miss it. As far as the gunner figure, he goes in and out easily enough. Removing him is going to be the first step in accessing the interior. He just stands on a stack of bricks, so all you have to do is pull him up. Then you want to take off this red section behind him. Be careful because you don't want to remove the white slopes on either side. After that, you can take off these two side panels. There's a connection at the front by the windows and a connection at the back. Try and be careful. If you do use too much pressure and it comes apart, it doesn't take that long to put back together. Once the other side is off, you'll have full access to the interior. Like I said, you can fit two minifigures in there side by side, and I would highly recommend just putting them in there while you're building. It's going to be easier to build the vehicle around them as opposed to building it and then taking it apart halfway way just to put them in. But if you do decide to do that, just follow the steps in reverse to put it back together. The side panels, the red piece at the back, and finally the gunner on top. A few more things before I show you how this actually connects to the dropship. I want to talk about the stability of the tank for a second. So you do not want to pick this up at the very front. These two sloped sections will break off immediately. Don't grab it by the side cannons, and probably don't grab it by the top turret either. I would say the back is probably the best spot to scoop it up beneath from, or maybe in front, right in front of the cockpit. Now this tank is meant to be dropped from a dropship, but in a very specific way that it doesn't break. So I did an actual just normal drop test here, and it kind of did explode a little bit, but that's more like you drop it out of your hand. Let me show you how we're gonna drop this thing from the dropship itself. So on the bottom of the tank is a little channel here. In between these modified plates is a 2-stud section, and it's very simple. That just lines up with the bottom rail of the dropship, which is smoothed out with some tiles. So the first step is to load the tank on the rail and slide it all the way forward until it touches the frame of the dropship. Then the next step is to lock it in place with this little Technic pin at the back, which will keep it from sliding off before you want it to. The last step is dropping the tank. You want to grab the dropship right at the top, right above that Technic frame with one hand, and when you're ready to make the drop off, simply grab the pin and pull it out with the other hand, swoop down low, and you can tilt the dropship back at a slight angle to let the tank just slide right off. If you tilt the dropship back at too high of an angle, the front parts of the tank can tend to break off. You want it to be just high enough that it'll slide off that rail, and it might take some practice. But if I can do it 5 times in a row without it breaking while inside of my light box, I think you guys can do it too. Now, because of this dropping feature that I've just showed you, there were some additional concerns of mine regarding the sturdiness and stability of the dropship itself and how it carries the tank. First off, I wanted to talk about this pin at the very back. As you can see, this yellow axle is pretty short, but it's what was included with the set. If you are worried about that slipping out and your tank sliding off the back, I would recommend replacing it with a longer axle. Even the 5-length axle from the 501st Battle Pack, it's 5 studs long, that would be better. Or you can go crazy and get like a 8-stud axle, and you shouldn't have anything to worry about there. However, I did a lot of tests with this 3-length yellow axle, and I'll show you I did a lot of shaking around, going to side, pretty much basically almost turning it upside down, and I think the friction of the tank pressing back up against the axle was enough to keep it in. But if that's not good enough for you, if you don't trust that, then I would definitely recommend getting a longer Technic axle to put in there. Minimum probably 5 or 6 studs long, but you shouldn't be probably rolling the dropship from side to side that intense either. That's just kind of an extreme example. I did some other extreme tests to see how long the tank would actually stay on, like tilting it backwards or forward as far as I could go, and also just shaking it from side to side really violently. The wings actually came off before the tank did. I also tried grabbing it from the front of the dropship, which I would definitely not recommend, but it did seem to hold up. With that being said, you should always grab this right above the Technic frame where those 2 red wedges are on either side. That's the best place for your hand to go while you're carrying the full weight of the tank. So the other concern I had was regarding this bottom rail. I was actually pretty deep into the process of making this video when I noticed that it looked kind of slightly bent upwards for some reason. And after doing a little bit of investigation, I have to be honest, I'm not exactly clear on the reason why it looks like that. I noticed that in general, Technic bricks tend to have a little bit of upward curve on either side. I compared this piece with another piece that's similar but has not been attached to this dropship, and you can tell that they both sort of have a little bit of space underneath them when you press on one end. It's enough space to actually slide this sticker sheet under, so maybe it is normal for these longer LEGO Technic bricks to have a very slight upward curve, but I did want to show you a few ways you can try and fix this problem if you're worried about your bricks getting stressed over time, or if this is something that bothers you. On the top section, you can actually secure this Technic frame even more. You will need 2 Technic bricks with the cross axle holes, 1 normal 1x2 plate, and a 4-stud long Technic axle. And just so you know, those parts can actually all be found in a 501st Battle Pack. So you want to place this Technic brick down on one side and put the plate down with the Technic brick on top of it on the other, and simply slide the axle through to secure it to this Technic frame. Now the Technic frame is secured on the top, working together with this yellow pin that was part of the original instructions. Going back down to the bottom rail to really shore that up, you can use this handy piece here that has the 1x2 base and the 2 Technic holes on top of it. You'll also need 2 Technic round pins. You can use these gray ones which are left over from the 2 fighter tank sets, I went for these blue ones because they're longer and you can actually slip them in from the other side, which is just easier. Quick note, if you try to use a normal Technic brick here to connect the pins to, it won't work. It sticks out too far and pushes the tank back so that the rear pin won't lock in place properly. Anyway, both of those mods should help if you're worried about that rail piece being stressed. To be honest, I don't know if it's a big deal or not. You can definitely go ahead and build this without the mods and use that cool dropping feature. I just wanted to be transparent and make you guys aware that I just noticed that. So obviously the choice is up to you whether you want to build without the mods, build it with the mods, make your own mods even, which would be really cool, or just not build it at all. It's completely up to you guys. So we'll end here with Windu and the boys dropping into battle. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the build if you decide to make it. Likes, comments, subscriptions, that's all always appreciated. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. And once again, PDF instructions on my Patreon. Link is in the description, or free instructions coming right up. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.